Hello and welcome once again to another episode of From the Heart. As always, the show is brought to you by the American Heart Association and the West Virginia Library Television Network. I'm your host, Kevin Pauley, Marketing and Communications Director for the American Heart Association. Well, one of the things that we take great pride in when it comes to the work that we do across the nation and even especially right here in the state of West Virginia is our work in the realm of community impact. The simple fact is, while our events like our Heart Ball and Heart Walk will bring in the money that's needed to help get the life-saving research done, it's our work in the field of community impact that really helps the rubber meet the road, where we're making genuine strides in the actual community setting to get more people involved in taking care of their own health and to work with our more rural health clinics and even dentist offices to help make sure that their patients are aware if they have high blood pressure issues, if they have any kind of heart issues, and they can take action. And the results that we are seeing are tremendous. Here to talk more about the work that we're doing in various facets for the realm of community impact is no stranger to the show, our Community Impact Director, Holly Mitchell. Holly, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here as always. And one thing about it, I mean, your job, if there's a person who has a job that keeps them hopping, it has got to be you. You are all over the place, all over the state, and in every little nook and cranny of place that you can get into.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about just an overview of community impact, like what that means in the realm of the American Heart Association's work, especially as it pertains here in the Appalachian region in West Virginia.
Yeah, and you certainly really kind of framed it in a really great way of how the folks, our wonderful development folks, and you, of course, that help us out get our mission. You know, we get the funding for that. And then my realm is to kind of see where the programs are needed. Like you said, every nook and cranny. We look at hypertension, we look at nutrition, and we also look at tobacco and vaping cessation. So we're working within the schools, we're working within churches, hospitals, clinics, community organizations, anywhere where we can meet people to where they're at to help them out with those three things.
I know one thing we always talk about your work with our rural healthcare clinics, you know, our FQHCs and the work that they're doing, because, you know, you think about hospitals, you know, they've definitely got their own thing and they're big entities and they have all these different programs and things available. But our rural health clinics are the ones who really are in the trenches.
Yeah.
And they're the ones really putting the work in these smaller communities where, you know, it might take someone an hour or so to get to a big hospital, but they've got their local community clinic right there. And those folks are doing tremendous work. Talk a little bit, before we get into some of the other stuff, I'd love to talk about the work that we're seeing, especially in the realm of hypertension.
They are gems, first of all, and we rely on them so much because it would be such a heavy lift if we try to go out in the communities ourselves and do the work that they are doing. So we kind of piggyback on programs that already exist. You know, some of them have their own like diabetes programs where they're meeting, pharmacy that's meeting. So we kind of supplement and, you know, tag along on some of the things that they're already successful about. They do have a wonderful presence in their community. They're trusted. They have friends and families that are there. So what we do is we offer like a supplement. Hey, I got off on a phone call today. They have a wonderful, robust pharmacy program that they do with their diabetes patients. And what we're going to do is come in and offer the blood pressure screening aspect and do a self-monitoring blood pressure program with the participants and kind of facilitate that where they didn't have that before.
Right.
So we really rely on our friends, the FQHCs in rural areas, to be like, where can we align with our goals, our missions, and our resources to kind of get out things that they need. Like, you know, we have all of this, but we really probably could use some hypertension work. So that's where we're at, and we definitely love to partner with our rural, you know, friends.
Well, one thing about it, you know, in a state that leads the nation, you know, or is a national leader in hypertension, you know, obviously the work is very important. And, you know, hypertension is sort of that gateway to many other problems down the road if it's not taken care of up front. I think it's wonderful that you've been seeing such great results in these communities because you know, we talk about hypertension is not something that's just easily seen, right? Like you could be walking around with high blood pressure and never have a clue that you've had it.
Yeah.
So the results that you're seeing, the impact that it's making. I mean, people who didn't know they had high blood pressure, finding out that they have it, but then actually being able to do the work and get it back down. That's got to be really satisfying for you in the grand scheme of things.
It is, and we encourage our clinics, FQHCs, hospitals, anyone that has outpatient folks to sign up for Target BP. That way you get a baseline, you can put your numbers, all the information into this platform, and you will get rewarded for the things that you're already doing. We get national recognition, to our clinic partners.
Oh, many of them
have, gold,
yes.
silver, bronze, and then once you have that you're locked in, you get resources for staff and patients, CMEs, CEUs, and updated right at your fingertips new things from the Heart Association that works to get those numbers down. And we see it's a platform for hypertension, diabetes, and cholesterol, and they have resources for each. But that is something that we really pride ourselves in because it sets the bar for the clinics on what they do, and then they can go back every year and see, wow, we've really improved with this using some of the tools shared from the American Heart Association. So I'm really happy how that's going. A lot of our clinical partners who have done this, they rave about it. It's just, I would love everybody in West Virginia that, to get on to Target BP because it really helps us not just, uplift the clinics and see what they're doing, but also gives us a better understanding of where we need to put more funding and more programs in the state to help bring the numbers down for hypertension.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, Target BP has shown itself to be a very effective program. And everywhere that you've had it implemented, you're seeing great response, great results, patients really getting those numbers down. And that's really impressive because you're seeing results in a matter of months or a year tops, not even years, but within the year you are seeing results.
Absolutely.
And that's genuinely a real testament to what an effective program Target BP is, but it's also a real testament to the work that those rural healthcare clinics are doing to get blood pressure cuffs on people's arms, to get them talking to their doctors, to get them involved. And I think that's a big part of it too, is making people feel like they are a part of their own healthcare. They're not just listening to someone, they're taking action, they're being proactive in many cases with blood pressure to make a world of difference. Now, I know there are some specific things we want to talk about today because you've really got some amazing programs that are happening in the state. So take us through one of the neat ones I think you've been able to do, and again, talking about being in the community and in especially the hubs of our communities is the Healthy Sundays program, getting involved with churches. And as we know, in so many regions of this state, the church is the absolute hub of the neighborhood, the hub of the community. Everybody knows everybody's there, everybody is there connected. Talk a bit about this innovative program and what you're seeing, with regards to its implementation.
We had a pilot program probably, I want to say a year ago, and we noticed a lot of churches that we did some outreach with, they have health ministries. So they were already doing that frame of thinking with getting their parishioners not just with spiritual health, but also physical health. So, and especially some of the larger churches. And so we partnered with some of these churches. Thanks to Race Matters West Virginia, they had a network of churches that they were working with. We, again, piggybacking on something that they've already done, but we offered the hypertension aspect about it, looking for a self-monitoring blood pressure, and it's empowering. You start looking at your blood pressure and you do a couple of things and they go down. You're really, it's like biofeedback. It's like you're really doing all the things and can see it in real time. So as you mentioned, churches are hubs. And I always think about my parents, if there was any kind of church doings, they were there. And it's so neat because a lot of the folks who really need to have that, just a little bit of a lift today, hey, take care of your health too. It's right after the Sunday service. It's convenient. They're already there, and it's once a month, and they get a component about eating healthy, moving more, talking with their doctor, what a blood pressure is, knowing their numbers. We also do CPR there too, a hands-only CPR component, and talk about sleep too, and other little things that kind of...
Hey, life's essential 8, man.
Life's essential 8.
It's the thing we added to it because it is so critical.
It is, and not really thinking about that, but some people, it's like, yeah, my sleep is pretty rotten, but surveying some of our church partners that have signed up for Healthy Sundays, it is so wonderful to hear here because they really have taken this program and run with it. So everybody wants to be a part of it. We usually try to keep the groups kind of small, like 25, maybe 30 folks, and we supply the blood pressure cuffs. They do the work. We have community health workers. We have health ministry staff at the churches. Sometimes it's a nurse or a retired nurse that knows how to do blood pressures and that can help them with the reading. Because these blood pressures that we do now, you can put them on your arm, they do it for you.
Oh, yeah, it's automatic. Yeah.
But it's nice to have someone who is versed in that, talking about why that's important. Hey, what's that top number? What's that bottom number? But we've heard such wonderful things, and from our friends from Benedum who've done this, help us get with the blood pressure cuffs to the churches under this grant, we were able to touch so many lives with this, and people are telling everybody, after church, if you stay, you get a blood pressure cuff, and it's for 6 weeks, and their blood pressure goes down.
Yeah, so the results are there. I mean, that's the thing about it. I mean, It does get the job done. But I think it's wonderful, again, because of that community impact that a church can have, to be able to get them involved and to kind of piggyback on things they're already doing.
Yep.
The body is a temple, so some things to talk about, right? So it's important to know. And of course, goodness, how many church potlucks have you been to in your time, right? So it's nice if you can incorporate some stuff even in one of those, right? Which is really nice.
Yep.
Again, it's a really great program. Now, if a church wants to get involved with it, like if someone's watching today and says, hey, I'd like to get my church involved, how do they go about doing that?
They can certainly call me. They can email me, holly.mitchell@heart.org, and we will talk a little bit about how things are set up at their church. If they don't have to have a health ministry, but we would like to have a contact at the church. Maybe it's the ladies' aid or the ladies' group, men's group, sometimes prayer group, or some other type of group that can kind of take that on. And you mentioned potluck. We have some churches that did like healthy cooking cook-offs.
I love it.
Which was super cool.
Love it. That's wonderful.
Alternative things like a salad potluck. Bring a salad bar.
Yes.
They did that. Walking groups, they did that too after churches or before the church. That was really kind of cool to hear. Each church is different how they had set up.
Sure. I would expect them to be a little different. There's different denominations. They're going to do things a little different. That's fine.
Yep. So we were talking to I guess it's like the West Virginia Church Alliance. We're trying to get in them to get this more publicized. And any size of church, you have 5 people, you have 6 people, 30, 400. We want all churches to have this, to have the opportunity. So you don't have to be a huge, robust church, but it's something where you're meeting, weekly. It's going to be a month, and they're able to do that. So it's been really cool, and I just can't wait to expand on it.
Absolutely. And one thing about it, there are so many wonderful churches in this state. So if you're not one of them yet that's involved, please get a hold of Holly and get involved. It is a wonderful program, and everybody in your church will absolutely benefit from it. I know one of the other big things that we've been talking about in this past year, we've talked about it on the show, and of course you and I have talked about it ad nauseum, in various calls and emails, is the CERP, the Cardiac Emergency Response Plan. And that's such a big win that we had this past year, back in February when it passed, to actually be a thing that's implemented in so many of our schools with athletic programs. And now we're trying to expand that even more. But any company can get involved with developing a CERP for their business. And we've had, our friends at WCHS TV, we've had our friends at Link who have taken that on, which is wonderful. Talk about this program. This is such a wonderful thing. And it's one of those things that a lot of people might already be doing this kind of work and not even know it.
Right.
That they could literally be a part of this and easily implement it into their place of business.
Well, not to leave churches out, because we do have a church.
Oh, absolutely. That's right. There's a church as well. That's right.
They're going to adopt a CERP policy. They already have. This is a huge church. It's West Logan Church. A big shout out to them because they wanted to take this on. Over 400 folks.
Oh, my.
They are very robust, dynamic, and just beautiful because they do so much within their community. And I'm talking to a few of their folks, and they're going to do Healthy Sundays.
Love it.
And then they were talking about doing a CERP policy because they already had an AED machine, but it's really just, okay, you have an AED machine, but let's maybe put some framework around that you're checking the machine, that folks are trained in CPR, hands-only CPR, that you're doing things yearly to make sure things are good.
And that's very important. That upkeep with the AED is something a lot of people don't think about, but it is necessary. And I think also, too, when you look at a plan like this, should something happen, who knows where it's at? Who's in charge of getting it? That plan is also sort of a chain of emergency as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's really important about it is that everybody now knows who's a part of this plan. They know who's doing what, should an emergency arise. So talk a bit, about what this looks like and how a business goes about getting one.
Yep. We have a draft policy, and we can't really furnish an AED machine.
Understood. That's a price they would have to look at.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions that we get.
But they are coming down in price.
Yes.
And you can definitely get them more reasonably than you could, say, 5-10 years ago.
Right. And they're on Amazon, so you can get them with Prime. I mean, you know.
2-day shipping. There you go.
2-day shipping. So, but they have that in place, and it's almost like after they kind of get that, it's like, okay, now what? We kind of give them some guidance, and we do have, some funding available to look at CPR kits that we can kind of help them get started. We do have like fire departments nearby that would be able to come over and and partner with the church. Yes. That's been done. This is nationwide, not just in West Virginia, but we want everyone to be a nation of lifesavers. To enroll in it's a whole other program that they can look. That you can check that out in American Heart Association Nation of Lifesavers for more information about how you do that. But you can be designated to be part of that movement to get. Here we are in West Virginia. A lot of our churches, a lot of our organizations. Anyone can sign up for this and have that policy in place and have that plan in place, because most businesses do have an AED machine, but it's like, do you know how to use it?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
So does everybody know where it's at?
Exactly.
That's a big one. If you've got it, you've maybe walked by it and have no idea what it is, kind of thing. Like, it's very important to have that identification and understanding of.
Yeah. A few years ago, I traveled to London and I got to go, drive down to Stonehenge in England, and I found an AED machine there outside of Stonehenge.
That's excellent.
So my thing is, like, if Stonehenge
can have one,
an AED machine,
you can have one.
Your
too.
Company should have one too. So.
That's fair. I mean, like, that's Stonehenge. Like, you're out there away from everything.
I was impressed.
If they can have one, that says a lot. I'll just say that speaks volumes. Obviously with CERP, this is one of those things that here in West Virginia, it's been implemented to help out with schools that have athletics programs, because we've seen incidences of students who drop during a basketball game or a football game from cardiac arrest, and we had a wonderful little guy named Griffin whose story was a big part of why we got this passed. An 8-year-old who had cardiac arrest at elementary school, and luckily everybody at that school knew what to do, because the school had kind of developed its own CERP without even knowing it or calling it that.
Yeah.
And Griffin's with us today, and he was at the Capitol with us. Such an active piece of this, and he's now one of our youth market ambassadors. Like, it's so amazing that he's here. Because by all accounts, when that happens to a kid his age and the way that it happened, that normally is not the outcome.
Yep.
But everybody in that school knew what to do. The EMTs were called immediately. They knew what to do.
Yep.
And that school was a shining beacon of how one of these things work.
Yep.
And I know that's the next step for Emily for next session, is to get expansion of CERP. So, you can be ahead of the curve. Your company can get on board with this now and make CERP something that's just a part of what you do. It is not hard. It's not a hard lift at all. And honestly, we had our friends with MRC Global. They had an employee drop of cardiac arrest, but they had an AED on site, and people there were trained, and that person survived, and they were at the Heart Walk. So it goes to show that it's a very important thing to have. But again, a lot of businesses, a lot of them already do have an AED.
Yeah.
And they've probably got someone, but do they have people who know how to use it? It's amazing how simple this is to put together. But what a difference it can make for your business.
Yeah, and it could make a difference for yourself. If you think about it, if you're at this company, it could be you.
It could be you that drops, that needs that CERP to be in place. Yeah. You're exactly right. That's a very valid point. With that in mind, one of the components I know that goes with that is CPR training. And we talk a lot about hands-only CPR.
Yep.
So talk about what you're doing with hands-only CPR out in your community work.
Well, anytime we have a program, anytime involvement with a church, anything, we always add. You might even see us out in the community during like a health fair. We love doing those.
Oh, yeah.
But we offer hands-only CPR, because a lot of folks, they think, oh, my card expired. You don't need a card to save a life.
No.
You don't. It's definitely nice if you have the time to go and take the class, because it's very extensive. But we know that hands only saves lives too.
It does.
And now the holidays are coming up. We're asking folks that were meeting with their families. Maybe this is your once-a-year gig where you're having everybody, all the cousins.
Yeah, all the aunts and uncles. Yeah, everybody's all together.
It would be really great if you could do that, because if everybody's gathering your house and you're really sharing the gift that keeps on giving, and it's hands-only CPR. You can go on our website; they have videos there.
Yes. Our YouTube channel.
Yes. They have that very good demonstration for that. But hands-only, hard and fast to the chest. We have a really cool Spotify list.
Yes, we do. Yeah, it's a good one.
The American Heart
Association. Because there's so many songs that fit the 100 beats per minute, 100 to 100 beats. Besides Staying Alive,
right?
There are some like current bangers that everybody knows, like some great stuff. There's some Chappell Roan. There's Miley Cyrus. There's
go.
Beyonce. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is wonderful to see that Spotify list and how every age, whatever age group you're in, there's a song there that you know by heart that can absolutely help you when you've got to perform.
Yeah, definitely. In the holiday season, I think Sleigh Ride's up there.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And I think All I Want for Christmas Is You might actually be up there. So when Mariah thaws out, she can help save a life. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. That's a life-saving song for the holidays.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you're in the holiday spirit, sharing this with your family, turn the video on right when the pumpkin pie is being cut. I definitely recommend everyone to try this out. Do you need a mannequin? No.
No, not at all.
No, but they can have maybe like a pillow or something like that. You have a doll, maybe a stuffy around or something. But it's really important to kind of have this down because who knows, the next Christmas, you could really help your family members stay around.
Well, and the simple fact is the statistics show that if you are going to perform CPR on someone, odds are very, very high that it's going to be someone that you know.
Exactly.
And if you're having a family gathering, what a great way, like as you said, to sort of give the gift of life so that you can all get together again next year.
Yep.
And if something would happen, you would hate to not know what to do when you could have taken just 10 minutes and not even a full 10 minutes to get the basics across of what to do. So I think I love that idea for the holidays.
Yep.
I think it's wonderful. Obviously this time of year too, we talk about our Heart Healthy Hunting campaign.
Yep.
And I know you've been very active with that. You've done multiple interviews and discussions about it. But talk a little bit about that campaign and why that it's been such an effective campaign for the state.
Well, a lot of our wonderful hunters, they get so prepared of going in the woods. They do all this checklists, all the equipment that they need. Of course, the main thing is snacks, right? And where they're going to go.
Well, that would be my style of hunting. I don't need the gun. Just give me snacks.
I just want to go out in the wilderness. I don't want to, I'm cool with not taking anything home. But what we have noticed, and I think you have some statistics with this too, is that we have a lot of our hunters that don't come back.
It's literally 25% of all the calls that DNR gets per year during hunting season. 25% of their emergency calls are related around cardiac issues.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that when hunters prepare for that and think about next year, your heart is healthy enough to enjoy getting up. Don't make that your only activity that you do.
No.
Take healthy snacks. Maybe check with your doctor before, hey, am I healthy enough to go hunting?
We highly recommend a quick visit to the doc. Just get a baseline, know where you're at.
Baseline.
And we definitely have on our website, our heart.org website, you can find recipes for healthy snacks. If you go to any of our social media channels, you'll see our little factoids up. Easy ways to get moving at home, ways to get ready, the signs and symptoms of a heart attack, signs and symptoms of a stroke. Those things are there. And we are happy to share that because it's something that everybody needs to know. We've had numerous stories of people who luckily survived but had a heart attack while out on the hunt. And it was a terrifying incident for them, and luckily they were on the other side of it. But then you look at one of our ambassadors, Delaney Roberts, who is just a tremendous voice for this. But she's lost her grandfather and an uncle to cardiac events that happened after being out on the hunt. So she has taken that very personally, and you'll even see some messaging from her on our social media this month as well, through the month of November. Every November is our Heart Healthy Hunting campaign. When you look at a campaign like this, though, looking at how it can impact the community, what does it mean to you to see this campaign still in play? We're now in year 3 of it now. So what's it like for you to see this campaign still out there?
I really appreciate it because I know that someone has looked at this and they thought twice about just going in the woods and not having a plan, not knowing where, if I had to call 911, how long would that take me?
Right.
I really feel it in my bones that we probably saved some folks just because you need to plan just a little bit better. You don't have to have anybody with you. Some people like to hunt alone, but tell them where you're going in a little vicinity. Make sure your cell phone's charged. Make sure you have medications and stuff with you. Just a little
That's
reminder.
a big one. If you do take medication, make sure your medication is with you. Don't play around with that. Dr. Eschenauer talked big time about that.
Oh yeah,
So, he was very much like, don't forget your medicine.
Yeah, it makes me feel really good because I know it works.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we've had some feedback about, you know what, I am kind of, maybe I'll walk a little bit more and try to get a little bit in shape, that I'm not walking out of the woods, because it's a lot.
Oh man, when you talk about an animal that weighs hundreds of pounds and you talk about dead weight, and there is a difference, man, and like when it's alive and when it's dead, like there's a difference in that weight. And when you're dragging that up a hill and around, and you're in the cold, your heart's already working harder already because it's cold. And then you're exerting yourself with that. We just had a story shared on our YouTube channel, as a matter of fact. Paul Murphy, a native West Virginian who was hunting near Pocahontas County, and got a buck, and he and his brother were dragging that thing up, and he said the energy was there. I was so excited, so exerting and everything, and he's like, and I felt really off afterwards. Well, about a week later, he finally goes to the doctor and gets checked out, and he'd had a heart attack.
Oh my goodness!
And luckily, and literally, the doctor checked him and said, "I'm literally putting you on an ambulance, and we're taking you to the emergency room right now." Wow. And luckily, he survived, and he's here today to share his story. But it goes to show, man, that it can happen to anybody. And Paul, the doctor even told him, he's like, you're in good health. He's like, you're the healthiest person I've ever seen that had a heart attack. Wow. But he had a heart attack. So if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
I think it's a very important campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, Holly, looking at the holidays and things coming up, what's on the horizon for you when you look at community impact work?
Well, my heart's so full already from some of the wonderful partners that we had throughout the year that have just, from January or from this time last year joining us. They have so many successful programs. I'm looking forward to taking on new folks.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to working with some of our rock star partners that we have that always do so well, trying to think outside the box. But it's really, when you work with the American Heart Association, you're already so blessed because there's so much good that you can kind of spread because all the resources that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
And all the signs that we have that we're, spreading love and joy about heart health.
And celebrating 100 years of that. That's amazing to be in a centennial year like that. That's huge.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's really nuts.
But that's and we're trying to use that momentum to kind of carry on to, 100 plus.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that, to kind of having partners like you are going to be part of our 100-plus journey.
The second century, as we like to refer to it. You're part of our second century work. And
exactly.
One thing about it, you've done some exciting things this past year. You've got plenty to be proud of for the fiscal year and just for the calendar year of 2024 in general, Holly. Congratulations on all of your successes, and thank you for always finding new ways to get out into our community, to make a real difference, and truly to have hard evidence that you are moving the needle in the right direction in what you're doing. So congratulations to you, and I look forward to seeing what you'll have for us in 2025. I know it's going to be exciting, and I know I'll be happy to work with you on some really fun and innovative stuff. So thank you for the time today, and thank you again for a tremendous year in the realm of all things community impact. We appreciate you. Well, that will bring this episode of From the Heart to a close. And again, if you would like information about anything that we talked about here today, you can get a hold of me at kevin.polly@heart.org. And of course, you can always find us on our social media channels. We are at AHAWV on Facebook and at AHA_WV on Instagram and Twitter. If you follow us throughout the month of November, you'll see lots of tips and tricks for heart-healthy hunting. And of course, we will have some messaging throughout the holidays for you as well. Healthy ways to do what you need to do when you get the family together. But we'll talk to you next time. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Polling, wishing you good health for a happy heart and happy holidays.